This evening, we have a story of how World War II ended early for thousands of German prisoners of war.
And you may be surprised to find out the war ended for them not over there, but over here. It was World War II. And these guys were the enemy.
On May 13th, 1943, all Axis armies surrendered to the Allies.
German prisoners of war captured in places like North Africa and brought to places like Concordia, Kansas.
Every prisoner I talked to told me that one of the best things that ever happened to them in their life was being captured and sent to the United States.
During the war, every state had a POW camp. In Kansas, there were 16, and the biggest one by far was right outside Concordia. This guard tower on the north edge of town is about all that is left. It was July 1943. German POWs began arriving here. This was a camp that was 158 acres large, 309 buildings, and over the next 2 years, some 5,000 German POWs would ride out the war right here.
They had no idea the size of the United States.
Lowell May wrote a book about those times.
Yeah, I think it's just amazing.
Amazing because as the war raged on over there, German prisoners had it just fine over here.
Wir hatten Gelegenheit mit unserem Sportplatz, ein großer Sportplatz. Wir hatten Gelegenheit hier, wenn man in die Kantine ist und hat ein bisschen Hunger gehabt, dann hat man immer, wir hatten eine wunderbare Kantine.
They had their own bakery, their own theater, their own band. Some prisoners took up drawing. Others studied in their own prison university, even getting class credit from KU. They also worked jobs on nearby farms.
If it hadn't been for the POWs, a lot of the crops would have rotted in the fields.
And this was north of Ottawa? William Barnes remembers as a young boy working alongside those POWs near Ottawa. And you never worried about your own safety?
Oh, no. It never occurred to me or my parents either. They were just very nice people.
Yet those who have studied this say it was World War II. The fact these were German prisoners and not Japanese prisoners was a factor in their treatment.
One was the sneak attack on Pearl Harbor that got us into the war, and there was a lot of hard feelings against the Japanese for that.
I think there was just, they could see that they were of European origins and had much more seemingly in common with people out here.
Yet it was a complicated time, but at least here, a world at war finally ended with enemies no longer.
Even on people that were your enemies in a time of war, if they're treated decent, they can become your best allies.
So why were German POWs brought here in the first place? Well, it was cheaper to have them here than over there. And with so many of our boys all fighting the war, we needed POWs working civilian jobs here. There is a small museum north of Concordia near that guard tower, and often descendants of those POWs come for a visit to see where their relatives spent the war way back then. And yes, there were POW camps in Missouri, 4 to be exact, closest to us in Nevada, Missouri, about 100 miles south of Kansas City at a place called Camp Clark.